The German Bureau of Maritime Casualty Investigation published its accident report on the container ship MUMBAI, which ran aground while entering the Weser Fairway on the 2nd of February 2022. The MUMBAI, a so-called ultra-large container ship, was en route from Rotterdam in the Netherlands to Bremerhaven in Germany. The ship had chose the deep water route as opposed to the coastal route for its approach. In the course of a turning maneuver just before the entry into the narrow fairway, the ship ran aground on a dumping ground for dredging silt adjacent to the fairway. During her approach to the narrow fairway section, the MUMBAI received information that her berth was still occupied despite having a schedule, but would become free very soon. With a draft of 12.8 meters, the ship was tide dependent. At first, Vessel Traffic Services granted permission for the ship, which was approaching at a speed of 6 to 7 knots, to cross into the next VTS district. Shortly afterwards, however, it was denied entry into the narrow section of the fairway, in which neither turning nor encountering between large ships would be possible without problems. The vessel therefore performed a turn before that point and proceeded to sail in the opposite direction. Less than half an hour later, the MUMBAI was informed that she could now enter after all. With the tide window tightening, the ship immediately turned back to its original course. The planned maneuver failed, however, and the MUMBAI ran aground on a dumping ground for dredging silt just south of the fairway. Due to the sudden deceleration of the fourth ship, which had run aground first, at a speed of almost 10 knots, and during a port turn, the stern of the ship entered a yawning motion. The ship continued to pivot around on a longitudinal axis on the grounded fourth ship. When the MUMBAI finally stopped moving after about 20 minutes, it rotated more than 180 degrees from the direction in which it had ran aground. When the grounding first happened at 11:06 p.m., it was immediately reported to Vessel Traffic Control. The CCME assumed overall command of the salvage operation an hour later. The first attempt at towing the ship free at the next high tide failed and had to be aborted. The Dutch salvage company Smit Salvage, commissioned by the shipping company, prepared a salvage plan that was coordinated by the CCME. At the next high tide, in the night between February the 3rd and the 4th, the next attempt was made at towing the vessel free. Prior to this, the exact water depths around the MUMBAI had been sounded and the ship lightened by 7,000 tons of ballast water. At 1:14 a.m. on the 4th, the ship was reported to be floating. Before the MUMBAI entered Bremerhaven under its own steam, she was towed into the German Bight to test her two main engines. A diving inspection required for maintenance of class, including all class surveys, was conducted in the next scheduled port of call, which was in Denmark, due to insignificant water depth in Bremerhaven and poor visibility conditions. For this purpose, provisional voyage permission was granted after a survey of all tanks by the Classification Society, Germany's Ship Safety Division, and the vessel's insurance company. The diving inspection revealed that the accident had only resulted in paint abrasion and that the ship had not sustained any further damage, and class was therefore reissued. Other than running aground, these guys were very, very lucky because they ran aground on a mountain of silt. But they did it at 10 knots. And it took 20 minutes going through the silt for the ship to stop. And at that point, she had turned around more than 180 degrees. That would have been a scary ride, that's for sure. But after it was all said and done and she was floating and inspected and all that, all they did was scratch the paint. Pretty amazing, really. Luckily it was silt and not a bunch of boulders. That would have been a different outcome, that's for sure. I didn't hear anything about this when it happened, but it's an interesting one.